It's week 2 of the Cardinals 2023-2024 season, and I have my very favorite special guest joining us today. Stay tuned.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh.
Murray heaves it downfield. It is. Oh, it's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins. Miraculous. It's Murray magic.
The sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the official 2023-2024 NFL season on the sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. I am your host, Kelly Singh. I have brought in my favorite cohort, Cardinals beat reporter, Donnie Druin. Donnie, hello.
Hello, I've been called a lot of things, so the cohort is definitely probably like middle to like bottom tier of the thing has been called, so I'll take that.
Oh my gosh. Cohort. My favorite cohort. All right, whatever. I liked it.
No, it was good. I liked it. I thought you were gonna go with co-host at first, and then you like switched up the second to the last letter, and I'm like,
Oh, hort, host. All right. They both work. You have your own Cardinals podcast, which is taking off in subscriptions, which is super exciting for you.
I appreciate
What is
that.
it
Thank
called?
you. It's just All Cardinals Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. Just type in All Cardinals, and one of the videos will pop up, whether it's a podcast or like a player interview in the locker room during the week or after game or something like that. Also follow the work at allcardinals.com or sf.com/NFL/Cardinals.
If you wrote all that down, good for you.
Yep.
Well, I've been doing this little pod now for a little more than a year, I think. And it has been really fun and really exciting. And we do not have that many YouTube subscribers, but apparently we have a lot of what do you call them? Apple Podcast listeners.
Okay.
So that made me feel a lot better. But I will say listenership has been in the thousands for like 2 weeks in a row. And then all of a sudden there was like 9.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really tough to sell Cardinals fans on content the remainder of the 2023 season. It is what it is. Hopefully, more talent can be injected in this team within the next couple of years. We can get back to like that 2008 team or like the 2015 team to where everybody and their mother loved the Cardinals and loved supporting them and listening to them and reading about them and so on and so forth.
True. Or they could just tune in because we're just fun. Like, come have fun with us.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I agree. Yeah, tune in. Maybe the Cardinals will tune in here in the next couple of weeks.
Maybe. I see what you did there. So let's dive into this because my initial inkling, I like to go with my gut a lot of times, which means nothing really. But I had this feeling we had Joshua Dobbs. He's going to be there as the veteran to just be a calming whatever presence, and we would work on Clayton Tune. That's not what happened. Joshua Dobbs ended up starting week 1, and I told you I have eyelashes stuck to my hand.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, people. Super distracted by 2 strips of eyelashes on my hand. Dobbs, lackluster, I said to you. Lackluster. Everybody talks about protecting the football. When I watch Clayton Tune play throughout the preseason, throughout camp, throughout the preseason, I felt like that was his main job, which it is, but he treated it as his main job to find somebody to throw to get out of bounds, or to run himself down the field. I don't see those things when I watch Dobbs. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think It was a very, very interesting decision. You kind of got the feeling right whenever they traded the 5th-round pick for Josh Dobbs that he was kind of the guy, but they just wanted to make sure that he actually knew the system that Drew Petzing was running, because those two go back to their time in Cleveland, as well as a quarterback coach Israel Wolfork too. So there's a lot of like Dobbs history with like some of the guys on the offensive staff. They greatly overestimated what Colt McCoy's arm looked like, because they tried to sign Dobbs in the offseason. They couldn't get him. And then they brought Colt McCoy in, or sorry, they kept Colt McCoy. They tried to ride with him. Clearly did not like what they saw. And I think the timing of that trade for Dobbs told me that they were trying to actively get somebody else. And I think Dorian Thompson Robinson's elevation in Cleveland as the number 2 guy behind Deshaun Watson kind of freed Dobbs up for trade. Dobbs had 6 practices heading into week 1. So it's like really like he knows the system, sure, but like how much does he know? It's week 1 with a brand new head coach, a brand new offensive coordinator. Like, what do we expect? What can we expect? And I think we saw the game plan was try to establish the run, play great defense, and then don't turn the ball over. And the cool thing about that is that 2 of those 3 things were done, right? The one that matters, the turnovers, granted, like the first one was a strip sack on Josh Dobbs. I can't fault the quarterback for giving up the football when he's getting blasted behind the line of scrimmage. But the quarterback center exchange needs to be clean 100% of the time. And for Dobbs to pull out a little bit early for that, lose the ball. He tried to go get it. He didn't. Washington ended up with it. That ended up being the game-winning score. In the NFL, fine margins dictate whether or not you win or lose. And not to say that lost them the game, because one play doesn't necessarily dictate a game. But man, you talk about a momentum swinger.
Yeah.
Now, 4.4 yards per attempt for Josh Dobbs, did not push the ball downfield at all. Part of me thinks that might have been part of the game plan, just to keep things short and simple for Josh Dobbs. And I know we're going to get into the Giants matchup here in a little bit, but I do think things are going to open up a little bit more for the Cardinals offense. But overall, it's just a very vanilla day for Josh Dobbs. And vanilla, more times than not, is not going to win you football games, and it didn't on Sunday.
And it's not fun to watch, even if it's a close game.
And see, well, that's why I understand why Cardinals fans keep pounding the table for Clayton Tune, because I personally think Josh Dobbs is a better quarterback as we sit here and talk. But in terms of excitement, in terms of trying to push the ball down the field, I think Clayton Tune was the epitome of that during preseason play.
I agree 100% on the excitement portion. However, I can't really speak on if Josh Dobbs is a good quarterback or not, because I've never followed his career. I've only seen what I've seen, and I was on the Tune train.
Yeah.
Still am. Will we see Clayton Tune before Kyler comes back?
I 100% think so. I think it's only kind of a matter of time until we see Clayton Tune. Whenever Dobbs was traded, a lot of people were really happy, and like deservedly so, because like in a brand new scheme and a rebuilding time, you just needed the guy who knows the offense. And from there, if you know the offense, you can more times than not put yourself in a position to win. And like, to their point, they only lost by 4. Like, they almost shocked the Commanders as the second largest underdogs heading into week 1. So it's not like they played poorly, but if you only look at the offense side of the ball, there's so much left to be desired from that performance. The problem with starting or throwing Clayton Tune in during that week 1 loss, or even throwing him in week 2 as a starter, is you're not giving him a leash. And so let's say Josh Dobbs performs poorly week 1, and then you give Clayton Tune a shot in week 2, and Clayton Tune plays poorly. It's like, okay, well, now you find yourself in a position to where you're going to be bouncing back and forth between quarterbacks, not necessarily going to give either of them a shot to establish a rapport or a rhythm with their offensive teammates. And the quarterback change, I feel like, is coming. It's only a matter of time. But by not sitting Dobbs immediately, you're showing Tune that, hey, whenever we do in fact go to you as the guy, whenever that might be, if that might be, we are going to give you a handful of opportunities. So like, if you throw an interception, don't worry about it. If you have a couple bad quarters, don't worry about it. We are going to give you X amount of time to show, hey, I deserve to be in an Arizona Cardinals uniform, not only this year, but perhaps even in the future, to back up Kyler Murray or whoever else might be quarterback.
True. I guess my thought is maybe we let Dobbs start. If it's going south, then make an update. Bring in a backup. That's what a backup's there for, not just for injury, but for poor play. But I don't know. We'll see. Like you said, I'm sure we'll get to see him. It'll be really fun and exciting. No matter what the outcome, it will be fun to watch. We know that, at least.
Well, yeah, and Josh Dobbs was on 3 teams last year. And like that's not like a boast of his success, right? I mean, like there's a reason 3 NFL teams cycled through him. I think he was drafted in 2017. He's been on a handful of squads now. He hasn't really been able to find a home, and that's not like a jab at him, but in the NFL, like talent is talent, right? If you can play, teams will latch on to you. Like and like guys who are not necessarily journeymen, but guys who bounce back and forth between practice squads more times than not are not going to be capable. I think the only reason he was here is because of the familiarity with Drew Petzing, with Israel Woolfolk, and the rest of the staff. But I also think that was the Dobbs trade was an indictment on how they felt about Clayton Tune, because if they were really confident in Clayton Tune, they would have made Colt McCoy the backup, and Clayton Tune would have been the week 1 starter too. But Clayton Tune is a 5th round rookie. I don't think they wanted to rush him out there week 1 against a very tough Commanders defense anyway. I think the really good plan for them is to let Clayton kind of absorb a few regular season games and let him be shown, hey, this is what we want. This is what the offense looks like in full motion, not against third stringers, but against actual people who are putting food on their plates with their families. Go at it, right? And kind of let him get his feet set a little bit. And so I think more than anything, that might be the plan, because they talked very highly of Clayton Tune basically since the moment he got there. So it's not like they dislike him or like they only wanted like Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune was never going to be quote unquote the guy. I just think it's a matter of time until Tune finds himself on the field. And I think he'll be kind of that buffer between Dobbs not playing well enough to Kyler Murray returning. It's just a matter of when, in my opinion.
I can get on board with that. I'm okay with that analysis. Thank you, Donnie. Like, I need to be okay with it, but
yeah, no, thanks for signing off.
Week 2, we're now going into week 2. We're at home this week against the Giants, who had a terrible showing last week, like abysmal, poor, gross, disgusting. We look at the injury reports that have come out, the second ones this week. Cardinals with 5 players listed on the injury report. 2 of them did not practice. One of them limited. Running back James Conner with a calf injury. And then we look at the Giants, who have a whopping 10 players on their injury report. Yep. Half of them are pretty important to the team.
Big pieces.
Big pieces.
Well, the 2 guys who didn't practice either Wednesday or Thursday for the Cardinals, and there are 2 starters on the defensive side of the ball with Josh Woods and LJ Collier, and those were already relatively thin positions as is. And then, like you said, you look over at the Giants side of the ball. They did get good news today on Thursday, whenever both Andrew Thomas and Darren Waller did practice for the first time this week. But I mean, geez, I think like the other, because Sterling Shepard had a rest day today, and then I think the other 7 players were like all limited for a second day in a row. And like you said, a handful of them were like pretty decent contributors. So not to say both teams will be limping into this matchup, but we might be missing a handful of starters come game time.
We could be, for sure. I'm wondering, I think on the defensive end, it would hurt us more. James Conner, I happen to feel, is the best player on the team, but I think that, you know, we have other weapons that we can exploit if we needed to, but without a defense, defense wins games. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's offense sells tickets, defense wins games and championships, if I remember correctly.
Well, we look at New York, and maybe their mindset is a couple of thoughts. I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. Man, week 1 sucked. That was terrible. We have to play way better this week. However, we're playing the Arizona Cardinals. So Darren Waller, our very expensive talented tight end that has a hamstring injury. Maybe you just sit it out another week. I don't know. I keep looking at that thinking, do they put Darren Waller in? It's almost like the Ravens situation last week where Mark Andrews had a hammy issue, sat out. I do not think Mark Andrews would sit out against the Bengals. That's a huge divisional
especially week 1.
rivalry. But when
Sorry,
I
week 2.
look at this game, Waller against us, do you think they may be thinking you should probably just sit it out?
Considering they're 0-1, I don't think so. And Darren Waller today told reporters he was planning on playing.
Okay.
So like by his account and him showing up as an improvement on the injury report, I'm
Yeah.
gonna kind of pencil him in as playing on Sunday. Also, like they're traveling to a fan base that doesn't necessarily show up for games. So I would expect a heavy dosage of Giants fans to be in the house, which certainly helps whenever you are the road team as well. But I mean, every game counts, especially when you're 0-1. I think the stat behind teams who start 0-2, I think very, very few of them end up making the postseason. And if you're a Giants team looking to build consecutive years where you did make the playoffs, especially in the NFC conference where you get past teams like Philadelphia, it's kind of wide open. It's really for anybody's taking. So I think they want to stockpile as many wins as possible in the early part of the season before all the injuries accrue, before everything else kind of molds and happens for them. I think Darren Waller's going to play.
All right. All right. That's fine. I mean, he played last week too.
Well, also, how come we're not talking about the Isaiah Simmons revenge game?
Isaiah Simmons revenge game. I didn't even think about that. I was
Nobody
just
else thinks
looking
about
at
it either.
Sterling Shepard, wide receiver out. Wando Robinson, wide receiver out. Waller with his hammy. Graham got I can never say his
Gano.
last name. Gano with his ankle, their kicker. It's like, are they just falling to pieces? And I didn't even think about Isaiah Simmons. There's so much else going on. Tell us, what do you think about that?
Interesting for sure. I was collaborating with the Giants country writer for SI, and she was telling me that Giants fans tend to get very excited over a big name, but he hasn't necessarily proved a whole lot over there. It's 1 week. He did get there on a short time frame, but I mean, maybe just maybe Isaiah Simmons isn't all that in the bag of chips like everybody thought he was coming out of Clemson, which sucks to say, but it is what it is. But yeah, nobody is really talking about the whole Isaiah Simmons revenge game. And the interesting part about that is I try not to put too much stock into a player going from team 1 to team 2 and like having info, but Isaiah Simmons is still fresh from the desert, right? He knows that defense in and out. And so I'm sure the Giants offensive staff have been picking his brain over the last week saying, hey, like, what do you know about this? When they're in this look, like what are potential like disguises, X, Y, and Z through the order. So I think the Giants might be just a little extra prepared than normal.
Probably. Maybe even especially if they've looked at the spread here. 5.5-point underdogs to New York. They were 7-point underdogs to Washington, which blew my mind because I thought if there was ever a week we could win, it could have been last week. Even as 7-point underdogs going into this week after that showing, 5.5-point underdogs. I think it's because of both sides. The Cardinals actually showing up and people didn't expect them to show up. And then the Giants not showing up and people expecting them to show up.
Yeah, I think more than anything, if you're a Cardinals fan, you don't really want to focus on results in 2023. You just want to see his team battle. And I think a very large portion of what Jonathan Gannon was trying to sell to both the fan base and his players was, look, we are going to play hard. Like wins and losses, at least this year, not throwing them out the window, but like, I just want to see you guys get better. And I think if you're a Cardinals fan and you watched what happened unfold on Sunday, you have to be encouraged.
Yes.
Like you have to have watched that game saying, okay, like I know we didn't get to win, but like we were in it. Almost nobody gave us a shot to win this game. And they played hard. They played extremely hard on both sides of the ball, especially on defense too.
I agree. They did. They played really hard. And one thing that I thought was so cool, I happened to be in Vegas on Sunday, And they at Circa Sports, it's this huge wall. I don't know if you've been to it yet, but it's a huge sports book wall, like 3 floors high and wide. And across the middle are like 4 big, huge, giant TVs. And then there's a bunch of small TVs. And they moved the Cardinals game to one of the big, giant, huge TVs because it was one of the most like exciting games to watch out of all the games that were happening. So that was fun.
No,
Yeah.
super fun. And I think if you're going to State Farm Stadium this Sunday or the next couple of Sundays after, granted, there's going to be a handful of really good teams coming, but hopefully, I mean, the Cardinals can hold up their end of the value for the ticket price that you're paying.
I am going because I won season tickets this year.
You did. That is correct.
I will be tailgating. My parking is currently in the green lot, and I have a canopy and a grill and a TV and a generator and a cooler. Like
You're ready.
so ready to start at 9 a.m. and roll through.
No, that's a good time. I feel like tailgating is almost the best part of football Sunday. It's just kind of
Yeah.
the build up to it. Everybody's in a really good mood. I mean, great drinks, great food, all that other good stuff. The camaraderie. You see the parking lot start to fill up a little bit. Yeah, it's a good time.
I'm really excited. So if you happen to want to pop over to the green lot, Donnie, before you go and do your job for the day, you are welcome.
I appreciate that. I might have to take you up on that.
Carne asada on the grill.
No, now I'm definitely coming.
Thank you so much for joining me this week and looking ahead at our week 2 matchup against the Giants. It's always a good time.
No, I agree. Thank you for having me.
And everybody else, please take a minute to subscribe, like, share, leave us some comments. You can find me on Twitter, actually known as X now, at Kelly and Phoenix. And you can definitely go and find Donnie because he has the most amazing articles. It feels like every minute of the day, some new articles coming out at Donnie with an IE Druin. That's it, Donnie Druin. All right, that's it. Peace. Everyone, be good. Let's watch this game. Go, Cardinals, go.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.